Can I just say one thing firstly? I love the name Eat, Sleep, Boxing, Repeat.
Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel in partnership with sharpbetting.co.uk. This is a preview for the big fight happening at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York on the 1st of March. Gervonta Tank Davis defending his WBA World Lightweight title against Lamont Roach. Before we get into it, please do subscribe to the channel if you're not doing so already. All of your boxing needs under one roof, plenty of content, so go check that out. Please do like this video as well and let us know in the comments your thoughts on what we're about to discuss. Elliot, pleasure to be joined by you as always. Preview mode. We'll come on to this fight specifically at the end of the video. But first, I want to ask you a couple of questions surrounding Tank Davis and the lightweight division as a whole. I want you to tell me that, in your opinion, as I know you're a big fan of his fighting style and ability, do you believe that Tank Davis is perhaps unbeatable at lightweight?
Tough question. First of all, thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much, guys, for watching. It's a tough question, man. It's a really tough question. I am a massive Tank Davis fan. Included him in the top 5 pound for pounds not too long ago, which I may have to sort of check, to be honest with you, with the way things are going CV wise. But you know what? I think the answer to that question is maybe. I think there's one name in the division that I think could possibly beat him, to be perfectly honest with you. The one man only. And I think for me, it's similar issues with this guy that I'm thinking of with Tank Davis in a way. Like, you almost think like he hasn't really been proven. And the man I'm talking about is a man that we've also spoken about many times on this show, and that's Shakur Stevenson. I think Shakur Stevenson will be big problems for Tank, to be honest with you. But then equally, it's hard to say, because for me, I feel like both fights. I mean, I know Tank had that Garcia victory. I know he's obviously fought Frank Martin, but I feel like both of those guys need bigger fights. Both Shakur and Tank will need bigger fights. We just sit here really and say. But the question for me would be: could Shakur, should have to outbox him, probably go for like a points victory's not going to knock him out, but could he keep him off essentially for that long? Could he avoid getting hit? Could he get stopped by Tank? Yes. So for me, that's a really close fight. One where I think see either fighter winning, but that's the only screw in the works for me when it comes to maybe Tank losing at lightweight. To be perfectly honest with you, how about yourself?
Interesting, mate. Yeah, I think right now they're my number one and two. And maybe come on to a couple of other names in a second. But yeah, I think they're my number one and two. It's one of them where, gun to my head now, I'm picking Shakur Stevenson to beat Tank. But equally, like I think he's far better boxing ability and whatever. But equally, would it surprise you if Shakur was 7, 8 rounds up and got clipped and Tank took him out? We've seen that happen before, with Tank Davis being behind on the scorecards and coming out on top. That's not to say that he's not a talented fighter in terms of boxing ability and IQ as well. He obviously is world class at that. But yeah, I don't think he's unbeatable. No, not at lightweight anyway. I think that if it was to ever happen, I would back Shakur Stevenson to beat Tank Davis, to be honest. Um, at this stage now, I probably wouldn't back Lomachenko. However, a couple of years ago, I definitely would have backed Lomachenko to beat Tank as well. But equally, I think Tank's an elite fighter, and hopefully he shows it. Yeah, hopefully we get better fights from both of them, really. But in particular, Tank, I think I've been since that Ryan Garcia win, which is actually probably aged pretty well, given his performance against Devin Haney. Albeit if he was on performance enhancing steroids or not, we don't know. Um, yeah, but I think Tanky needs that big name, likely Shakur as well. So that fight makes sense for me. Hopefully it happens by the end of the year. But yeah, that's the only one for me. I did mention Lama there to you, mate. Throw him back at you. Do you believe it now at this stage, Tank would beat him? Plus another one who has recently become world champion with the destructive knockout of Dennis Berencic. How would Tank against Keyshawn Davis play out for you, those two?
Two very, very tough questions. I think Loma, the hard thing for me is Loma's, don't get me wrong, Loma's had a couple of, obviously had the loss to Haney, didn't he, as well, very, very recently. And I think, he's had a couple of the loss to Lopez. You think kind of, where is Loma at? Where is Loma at this stage? Almost like people are sort of writing him off in a way, I think. And then obviously he's had injuries, etc. But I still think Loma's quite live. But I think, to be honest with you, it's tough because he's so slippery. And I think Tank would have to land it. I think Tank was talking about box Loma in my mind. As simple as that. But I do think that past reflexes that he has, I actually think he'd catch him at some point. I really do. I think he'd get to him, and I think he'd switch his lights off. But it's weird sort of saying that when you sit there going, Loma's had like 300 plus whatever amateur fights, pro fights as well. Hasn't obviously, hasn't been stopped in any of the losses that he has had. But I still think I'd back Tank at this stage to stop him. Keyshawn Davis is very, very tough because we've seen Keyshawn Davis come in quite surprising recently. Obviously, the way he sort of dealt with Baranchik, stopped him in 4 rounds. That was an impressive victory. I would probably still have Tank, but that could, to be honest, that could be delusion. That really could. I mean, he's got some good wins on his record, Keyshawn Davis, as is Tank. So I think it'd be a close fight, but I still back Tank to get it done. Still think he'd stop him. But I think, as we've both kind of mentioned, we need to see Tank really in with the sort of top guys in the division. We need to see him in with the likes of Keyshawn Davis. We need to see him in with the likes of Lomachenko. I'm not even necessarily sure he will fight Stevenson. I'm not sure those guys will have that fight soon. But I wouldn't mind seeing him with the likes of Cepeda. Even Baranchik, man. Put him in like someone else, see what he does there. Just do something kind of, more renowned. I think at the moment we just want more from Tank, don't we? To be perfectly honest with you, but I'd have him beating those guys, yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think I would always, as I said, back Loma to beat Tank. But at this stage, I don't know. If that fight was made tomorrow, I wouldn't put it past myself still backing Loma because I just think he's that good. Like, I know he got beat by Haney, but I think that was very close. Some people even had him winning it.
Yeah.
But you're equally right. Tank could switch his lights out, and an aging Loma. I haven't seen him in the ring in a while. Oh, I don't know. I'm going to cop out, mate, and not give a prediction for that one, to be honest, unless it's finally made. Keyshawn Davis one right now, right here, right now. Yes, go with Tank. But equally, when you look at Keyshawn Davis's progress, considering that he turned pro and fought in the same Olympics as like Ben Whitaker, that kind of puts in perspective how their careers have gone. Keyshawn Davis now obviously a world champion, fully fledged, a couple of brilliant wins on his record, big puncher as well. Couple of years down the line, who would I be backing? Probably Keyshawn. But right here, right now, I'm still going Tank. But we may as well talk about the actual fight in question here, man. Lamont Roach is the next opponent of Gervonta Tank Davis. First actual fight at 135. He's more of a 130er. His only defeat was to Jamel Herring. He does have a couple of decent enough wins on his record. Fergal McCrory and Hector Luis Garcia, his last two. How do you see this one going, mate? Is it Anne New, Lamont Roach, or is it Anne Still, Tank Davis?
Oh, well, I think this is definitely going to be Anne Still, to be quite honest with you. I think Lamont Roach, I look at Lamont Roach like getting a good pros. Obviously had he's been there with some decent fighters as well. But I look at a guy who's gone super feather, the distance with Jamel Herring, for example. I see him not being able to keep Tank off him. Frankly, he got 10 KOs in 25. I don't think he's going to stop Tank. Let's be honest with that. He's got a slight height and reach advantage, granted. But I think, look, man, you've got to look at it at some point. We've seen those fast twitch muscle fibers of Tank many, many times. And I think we're going to see him here again today. I think he's going to clip him at some point. It's going to be lights out. People don't seem to be able to. We saw with Garcia, man. I mean, Garcia is obviously a weird guy, but people don't seem to be able to be touched by Tank very frequently without serious things happening to them. So I think, at some point he's going to get clipped and he's going to go, to be honest, whether it's the body or to the head, I don't even know. But I think it'll be, to be honest, I think it'll be mid-rounds. I really do. I think sort of 5 to 7. I don't see this guy being in Tank's level, frankly, as people like to say in boxing. So I think it's going to be a very convincing Tank Davis victory.
Yeah, mate, make another agreement on the preview show. And, I was hoping you were maybe going to go early or late stoppage because I was thinking mid-rounds as well. But we're in total agreement here. I think, levels. I think the Tank won't be too bothered about what's coming back in terms of power. I think the southpaw style of Tank will cause Lamont Roach some issues. And as you say, he just seems to have dynamite in those hands. As soon as he lands clean on the whiskers, it seems to be lights out, game over. That's all she wrote. And I can see Tank getting to 31-0 here with his 29th stoppage. Obviously, his 4-fight win streak, 4-fight KO streak, should I say, sorry, over Rolly Romero, Hector Luis Garcia, and then Ryan Garcia and Frank Martin. I think he makes it 5 KOs on the spin. And hopefully all roads lead to Shakur Stevenson unification by the end of the year. The timelines match up with Shakur fighting last week in Saudi and Gervonta Davis fighting this week. Let's fingers crossed it matches up when we see that fight. But guys, that is all we have time for. Let us know in the comments your thoughts on this lightweight division as a whole, where Tank stands in it, who beats him, if anybody. Please let us know in the comments. And as I said at the top of the video, please do like this video and subscribe to the channel. Elliot, thanks very much, mate. I'll speak to you again very soon.
Thank you very much, Paul. As always, guys, thank you very much for watching.